Hey, this is Gary Kayye. We're here at ISE 2019. I'm here with Justin Kennington, Matrix Transform. What the heck does that mean? Justin Kennington is, by the way, the CEO of, or the executive director, or runs the SDVoE Alliance. What is your actual title?
I'm the president of the SDVoE
okay.
Alliance.
President of SDVoE Alliance. Over our heads right there, it says Matrix Transform. Exactly what does that mean?
What we're showing is that we can actually replace the performance, the functionality, the application of the matrix switch, that big ugly chunk of metal that used to be the center of every AV system, with an Ethernet switch, and with SDVoE technology that's going to allow us to replicate the performance we had in the matrix switch while giving us all the flexibility, scalability of Ethernet, and a lot more advanced processing capabilities on top of that.
And you know, it's interesting because just recently you've seen some online discussions going around because SDVoE, the Alliance, is really the only standard in our industry for sending 10G or 10 gig AV over IP on a 10 gig network, right, using a 10 gig network. Everything else is either 1 gig but not standard, and we'll get back to that in just a second, or H.264. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by standard is that there's interoperability among manufacturers. So therefore, everyone who buys into or adopts or whatever the SDVoE Alliance platform, everyone works together, and so you can use any brand's inputs with any brand's outputs and controller. That's basically a standard, isn't it, by definition?
You got it, right? Today, our 41 members are producing 158 shipping products. I should take that back. I say today. I counted that before ISE opened.
Yeah.
So that's 158 products available to purchase today on this platform that all work together, that all interoperate. And of course, that number's going up and up as people start announcing all their new stuff at the show.
So if you're a specifier, you're working in a university and you're deciding to upgrade your facility and you want to go on the network, what's the decision-making factors that you believe they should be making, or what should they be considering? Because there are other options out there, and what should they be thinking about with regard to choosing the different platforms that exist, and why would they choose SDVoE over the others?
I think what you first want to think about is what are your users accustomed to, right? What's the level of performance? What's the level of capability that they're accustomed to? You don't want to suddenly throw them into a world of now there's latency in the system, now there are compression artifacts in the system, when what they're accustomed to is the matrix switch. And then in the longer term, thinking about your own sort of business needs, is how can the system be adapted as your own needs change? Am I going to have to throw away huge chunks of hardware and replace them with new things? Or is the system more flexible, like software-defined video over Ethernet?
Yeah, and ultimately, SDVoE is a 10 gig standard. But you're also working with, one of your partners is Netgear, which is a big switch manufacturer.
And a founding member.
And they have a family of products that are now SDVoE compliant products, which include not only switches, but also even input cards, working with your partners, where you actually have the ability to plug in HDMI directly into the switch and simplify sort of rack building with this concept as well.
You got it. So a couple of clarifications. SDVoE will work on any managed 10 gig Ethernet switch. What Netgear does as a member is make it really easy to deploy. So a Netgear switch out of the box is pre-configured for everything SDVoE needs to live and work well on the network. And now this new module you mentioned is very exciting. It actually doesn't come from Netgear, but it's the kind of product that comes from partners in the Alliance working together. So just yesterday, ZV announced, finally, that it's their product. Right. So this is a new module from ZV that plugs into Netgear's 96-port switch. And now, instead of only having 10 gig or even 40 gig ports on your Ethernet switch, you can mix 10 gig, 40 gig, and native HDMI ports right there on the Ethernet switch to simplify what goes on inside the rack.
So the idea behind that would be, if there are sources in the rack, you don't have to put in a transmitter, you don't have to put an encoder and decoder in there, because you can do that with the card, because the card can work both directly.
Right. We say the matrix transformed, right? That it's great that we finally have a technology that can beat the matrix, but in 80 years of using that thing, it developed a lot of really good features, like the modularity and the connectivity of direct input. So we want to take that, learn from that, and part of transforming the matrix is actually making Ethernet more like the matrix switch.
And then the last part of that is control, because ultimately you have all these inputs and outputs, and the one thing a matrix switcher has is you have buttons on the front of it to send your inputs and outputs, or you have a control system connected to it. I mean, ultimately you can kind of do the same thing with SDVoE because you have software, you have controllers, and you also have the ability to make button panels if you want.
That's it. In fact, in the analogy that I draw is that SDVoE offers this API that's a common software layer among all of the adopting members of the technology. And that API is sort of analogous to the front panel of the matrix switch. It's all the knobs and buttons and levers to turn on scaling and make this route. Right, and now so the question is, okay, well, what button do you want to press? What do you want it to do? And now that's all defined by the software that runs over that API.
All right, so to find more information, go to sdvoe.org. One thing that's unique about your site is you have a great educational section called the SDVoE Academy, I think it is.
That's right.
And you actually have a certification program now that you've just started to roll out. How's that going so far?
The certification is rolled out. You can become Design Partner Certified. This is now CTS Renewal Unit accredited. And this is a training really focused on folks who know how to design a matrix switch and build a system around that. We want to teach them the new considerations and sort of design language that comes with SDVoE. So even besides that certification, we have around 20 short 7 to 9 minute video free online courses, and we're actually starting to roll those out one a week for the rest of the year on academy.sdvoe.org.
Academy.sdvoe.org, or you can get there by going to sdvoe.org. We're going to do a quick booth tour, and then, of course, you're going to want to check out all the SDVoE products. All you have to do is go into the search box on our website at ravepubs.com, type in SDVoE, software-defined video over Ethernet, and you just type in SDVoE in the search box, and you'll see all the products that were launched here. Probably so far about 10 to 12 brand new products launched here, including the card for the 9600X from Netgear. The card's made by ZV. But in any case, that's on the website as well. Thanks for joining us, Justin. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary.
And I want to get a booth tour, okay? So
let's do it.
If you want to watch our booth tour, type in SDVoE in the video search window at ravepubs.com/ISE2019.